On behalf of Larry and Deb Thompson, who unfortunately can't be here, they're out of town, we're certainly delighted to welcome Chris Morris as the new president and CEO of the Edmonton Elks Football Club. Through the process of recruitment, Chris checked a lot of the boxes, and I'm sure a lot of you know 14 years with the club playing and then in the football side at the U of A. It reminds me of another teacher and coach and player that happened to be a president here, and Hugh Campbell for a number of years. So we're just delighted to have Chris here. We're going to spend a few weeks in the transition, and then I'm going to take my leave and do a little bit of traveling, but also be a support and advisor to Larry and Deb Thompson, and of course a mentor to Chris whenever I can help. So we're delighted to have Chris join us, and he's got a big learning curve, but he's certainly a very hard worker, committed to the EE organization. And Chris, come on up here and I'll give you not a number 60 jersey, but a 24 jersey. Welcome. Welcome back.
So I just want to start off, and I really want from the bottom of my heart to thank Larry and Deb Thompson for this humbling opportunity. If I could think of one job in the world that I would covet more than anything else, it would be to come here right now at this time when this organization is in need and in some possible way be able to help. I am humbled beyond belief to be here. I am excited to be here, and I'm really ready to get to work for this thing. When you talk about what we're going to do going forward, I think you got to start talking about what you're going to build. The first thing we need to build here is a championship level football team. This city was nothing about nothing but championships for decades and decades and decades. We need to be a championship level team that competes for Grey Cups every single year. There's been people before you, there's been 5 presidents in the last 8 years that have sat up here and said the exact same thing. Okay? What I'm going to tell you is this. We are going to build a culture in order to achieve our goal of building this team. Our culture here will be one that values everyone, from the player on the field to the person who's in the front office to the people selling our tickets. As an organization, we will know what our jobs are and we will value each other. And this will not be a culture of disposable people where people come and go on a regular basis. We will build continuity here. We need to reconnect with our fan base. We need to figure out who Elks Nation is, who Northern Alberta football fans are, and we need to connect with them, and we need to go after them, and we need to engage them. And we need to figure out a way to get the 50,000+ people that used to be in these stands back here engaged with what we want to do, our mission, and what we want to accomplish as a team. It's not easy to build things. And if you don't have a foundation, if you don't have something strong to build it on, you're not going to be successful. We will build this thing around integrity. When you talk to the Edmonton Elks, you will know that when they say something, it will get done. And when it's hard and when it's tough and when things aren't going well, you will be able to count on us to make sure that we did what we said we were going to do. And that will radiate through the community, and that will radiate through our organization, where people who work here will feel that. They will know that they will be looked after. They will know that if they do their job, they will know if they do it our way, the way that we look after each other and the way that we protect each other, that they will be safe here. We will build it around passion. We will build it around passion. We will have people here who care. We will have people here who love this game and everything it does for the people who play it and for the community. I've coached kids for my entire life, and there's nothing like a kid who puts a helmet on for the first time and goes out, whether it be a helmet, whether it be a flag belt, and goes out onto the field and the first time experiences being part of something bigger than themselves. Football is an outstanding sport. It is the best sport in the world. And the passion that kids feel for it is the passion we as an organization from top to bottom need to share. We need to love this game and what it does for our community. And we need to make sure that we understand that it's our responsibility to carry that forward. Passion is a part of our foundation. I promise you, the revolving door is over. The revolving door that's existed at every level of this organization, from the president's office to the players on the field, where you've got 10,000 extra lockers in here because the beginning of the year you got to cut 10 guys after 5 weeks, after 3 weeks, that is now over. We will build consistency here so that we can build a sense of family. I played here 14 years and we never missed the playoffs. The 1 year we got in trouble, we had 25 lockers in here and we were running through guys. You cannot win that way in this sport. Football's a tough sport. You need to have people who you can count on. You have to have people who you can rely on. And you cannot have that if you've got disposable people coming through your building. We will change that. The revolving door is over. The last thing I want to talk about from a foundation standpoint is innovation. I came here 32 years ago, maybe even more than that, with a gym bag and a bag full of clothes. And that's all I had. And when I got here, I met some incredible people. I met Hugh Campbell, I met Ron Lancaster, I met Bill McDermott, I met Rod Conop, who's standing in the back right now. And they knew how to win. They had something called the Eskimo Way. And I'm going to say this to you because the Eskimo Way is used so many times in so many different ways. I'm going to say this to all of you. We need to use that as a pathway forward. We need to use it as our foundation. But we need innovative people that aren't going to use that as an excuse to not do something new and inventive. We need out-of-the-box thinkers that are going to figure out ways to be better on the field, better in the boardroom, and to get some people on the stands. What we've done right now, we need to get better at, and we need to think of different solutions. So innovation is going to be a big part of this. With those foundational pieces in mind, with the core values I've just talked to you about, we are going to start moving forward with the work. The first piece of work we have here is to get our football operations team in place. G-Roy, Jarius, they've done a wonderful job resurrecting what was an awful season to start the year. They will be strongly considered moving forward. However, we owe this city and we owe everyone associated with Elks football to find the best football mind to take over our franchise. This might be G-Roy, but we are going to look and we are going to have an intensive search to make sure we identify and find the person that's right for us. And the number one thing we're going to base that decision on are the core values I just talked to you about. We are going to do it right. We are going to bring consistency back to here. If you look at a timeline for what we're going to do, we're going to start interviewing general manager candidates immediately. Starting on Monday, we're going to start looking at putting interviews together with general managers that are available. We have some limitations around who we can talk to until the Grey Cup takes place. By the time the Grey Cup takes place on the 17th, there might only be 1 or 2 people left that we want to talk to. The 17th is the last day that their competitive football is being played. The 24th is the deadline that I'm setting for myself to have a general manager in place for this team. There is a timeline that we will follow. After the 24th, once we have a general manager, that person will be very much in charge of finding our staff. The only limitation will be that we will build our staff on the same core values I just talked to you about. And that general manager will fit with those core values and they will build around that. And we will build a strong team on a strong foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited beyond what I can explain to you to be here. This is a tremendous responsibility, and I promise you, there's not another person in this country that takes this more personally than I do. This is a personal thing for me. I love this place. I never really left here, and I am ecstatic to be back. I just want to get to work. Thank you.
Chris, congratulations. Talked to you many times over the years, but that word connectivity that you used, is that with the fans, to try to get that back, is that one of your biggest challenges, your biggest hurdles? Absolutely.
Like, at one point in time, everybody connected with Edmonton Double E football. At one point in time, everybody in the city, I used to go out as a player and people knew who we were. People loved the team. We need to find that group again. I don't know right now who the Edmonton Elk fans are. And I don't know whether anybody does. And I think it's our job as an organization to seek out who is interested, what interests them, and build a product that they want to be around. It has to do with the fan experience. It has to do with the identity as a team. How can you identify with a team where 3/4 of it turns over every year? Who are you going to identify with? You tell me another sports franchise that has as much turnover as we've had in the last few years. You can't build that way. And that continuity is going to allow our fans to find something that they can connect with, and I think that's going to go a long way to get things right.
Ryan Rashad with TSN. Maybe just give us a thought on how the experience that you've had running the program over the last number of years, will help you on the executive front. Because clearly you know how to be a player and impassioned, but there's a whole other side, and what have you learned to prepare for that?
Yeah, I think most of my administrative and business background comes from being a principal. So I was a teacher for half of my football career here. I taught full-time at Emmy Lizard, which is a high school in the North End here. When I retired from here, I became an assistant principal, and I was a principal of the most disadvantaged inner city high school, or the junior high school in Edmonton. Okay, so during that process, the amount of administrative things you need to do with a staff that has to not just cater to kids who have regular learning needs, to a staff that has to deal with profound learning disabilities, to doing the detailed work around getting them assessed and getting that coding done, to all the detailed budget work that goes associated with that, that's a part of it. The other part is getting those kids fed and raising money to have a lunch program and raising money to do those things. So that's all part of my background. I have an extensive administrative background. When I was at the University of Alberta, there's 3 people that work at the University of Alberta. Laval has like 12. So like the administrative things that I had to do at that school around raising money, around our camp system that we created. When I got there, we had a camp system that generated $30,000 a year. We generated $860,000 last year with our camp system, all of which went back to scholarships. So I have extensive administrative background. I just need to learn the lay of the land here. And I'm excited to do that because I think it's a very, very unique challenge.
Jerry Montajon, Post Media. Chris, do you subscribe to the idea of a shared role of GM and head coach, as we've seen more and more lately to varying degrees of success in this league?
Yeah, I think that's something that you need to be really, really careful when you're talking to the general manager you're hiring. And I think if you find the right general manager, whatever model they feel works best, as long as it fits in with the way we want to do business here, I think that's what you go with. To me, it's people. You find the best person you have, and then whatever model they want to use, I think you go with that. And I don't think I could give you a generic answer for it because I think every leader is different and everybody wants to interact with people differently. There's some guys who just I want to be in charge, I want to do everything, but not everybody's that way. Okay?
Chris. Steven Sandor from Canadian Press. Watching this from afar, this team hasn't been to the playoffs since 2019, and what you talked about, this revolving door, I lost count of the number of quarterbacks since 2019, position players. What was that like watching this as an alumni, as a person on the Ring of Honor, watching this over the last 5 years?
You know what's really hard is that when I was here, and I see several of my former teammates here, we were a family here, and we played for each other, and there were people here long term that were in this locker room together that we cared for. There's no chance that that could be in place right now. There might be a few people who know each other and are friends, but the long term, the ability to hold people for a long term and to have them grow together and to have them come together as a family and as a team is what makes football teams special. And I'll challenge you to, like, who wins the Grey Cup every year? Who's in charge? Who's at the top of the league every year? It's the teams who have consistency and the teams who have players who have played together. And the teams who have players played together for years. And it's not just the players, it's the office staff. In order to be good at something, nobody works in isolation. Everybody works together, and everybody makes each other better. And if you have that kind of an organization, you're going to be successful. You can't do that with revolving pieces. And that's what needs to end. And I'm so convinced that that's 85% of the problem here, that we're going to address that, and it's going to be the first thing we do.
Chris, Jacob LeBlanc with Windspeaker Media. The announcement when Larry Thompson came onto the organization had a similar aura to what you're bringing right now. A lot of passion, a lot of energy. Larry brings that perspective from the fan side because he was a season ticket holder for a long time watching you play. So you bring that perspective from the player aspect. How are you and Larry going to collaborate to really work together on solving these problems, player side, and again, we've seen it, attendance issues over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'm going to say this about Larry and Deb Thompson. So When I initially went to interview for this job, when I was initially called down, Rick called me down to talk to me, and I honestly thought I was going to a meeting where they were going to cut our 50-50 money or something, because I was at the University of Alberta at the time, right? So I went down there ready to fight, and he was like, he started talking a little bit about leadership, and like, what do you think about leadership? What do you think about that? And then I was as shocked, I still look on some of your faces, I was as shocked as all you guys when he initially said, I think you should throw your hat in, your name in the hat for the presidency job. What made me understand that I could do this job was meeting Larry and Deb. They care about the core values I've just told you about are exactly who they are as people. They purchased this franchise for this community. They don't need to be doing this. They love this. They love what they're doing. They want to help this community, and we need other people to feel the same way about it. It's the same thing I was talking about, the piece of passion that I was talking about. That's what we need to get into, and we need to find a way to make people feel passionate about Edmonton Elks football again. So I'm very much in line with Larry and Deb. I honestly, I feel such a sense of gratitude to them, and I feel like I just want to make sure I don't let them down, because they've taken a chance on me, and they've invested in me, and I am just so excited to get to work for them.
Rick, I just wanted to ask you a question as well. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe you could just kind of speak to it, why you felt Chris is the right person for this job. Obviously, he's got an extensive football background, but in terms of front office, professionally not there. Why did you think he's the right person for this job?
I've known Chris for a long number of years, and when he played in this locker room, and then he actually became a principal, and my brother was a mentor to him, who was a principal. He's always been a leader. He was a leader in the locker room, and he was a leader in high school, and he was a leader at the U of A. And you just see the passion that he's got. That was key to me. And yeah, he pretty much fell off his chair the day we had lunch, and I asked him if he'd be interested in throwing his hat in the ring. But we're so glad that he did, and we've had a long time now, for the last month or so, of spending a lot of time together. And Larry and Deb and myself are absolutely convinced that he's the right person for this position.
Chris, Jay from Edmonton Sports Talk. How did we end up here? I mean, you've talked about it a bit, but can you expand on the process of when you were first approached, how long it's been, and how extensive these meetings have been with the ownership group?
Yeah, it was a very extensive process. So the first meeting I had with Rick was just generally around would I be interested in taking a look at the position. Then I met with Larry and Deb's executive team along with Rick, just around what I thought my visioning for this project would be. Then there was a subsequent meeting around a business plan and a 100-day plan and what would happen from the moment I arrived till basically January and February. Then after that, there was an in-person meeting with Larry, Deb, and their whole team, and I went through, again, my business plan and all the things that I wanted to accomplish with that. Then there was another follow-up meeting with that where they went through a personality profile, and they talked about, okay, here are the things that we think you're good at, all those different things. So it was very, very extensive. I have no idea who else interviewed for the process, but I can tell you this, it was quite a bit of work to be prepared and be on point for all the questions and all the things that they wanted to talk to. It was easy for me because I care so much about this place. Like I really do feel like I feel indebted to this place from when I was here and the things I learned while I was here. And I think that's a big part of this for me is I just desperately want to give back to this place. And I'll, whatever it takes to make that happen, I'm willing to do.
Chris, what about leaving U of A? How tough is that for you? What do you say to the players? And maybe branch off on that. I'll have a re-ask depending on how you answer here.
Yeah, when you spend 12 years somewhere and you recruit kids and you have them from the time they're 17 until they're 24 years old, you build some pretty good relationships. So I had my final team meeting yesterday with them. There were a lot of tears. There was a lot of hugs, a lot of, we really care about each other there. We built a culture there where we can count on each other. So it was a really hard day. The hardest thing for me was like the day ended and then there's 50 kids lined up to come into my office and they want to hug and cry and I'm just like, oh my God, just please let this end, right? Because the relationships we built there and the relationships that exist in that program, we always talked about brotherhood and we have a brotherhood there. We have people who care about each other, who want to play for each other, who are in it together. So that it was very, very hard. And I'll be honest with you, there's one job in the world I would have left U of A to come to, and this is it, one. I've been approached for other university programs. I've been approached for a lot of things. This is the one thing I would have left for, and I'm sad, and I feel almost like I've let some of those kids down because I just recruited them last year, but this is an opportunity of a lifetime for me, and there's no possible way I could turn it down.
So building a championship program here, way different than at the university level. What do you take from there? Because you had some close chances to reach goals that you failed to do, but what do you take from there that now you wanted to achieve here at this level?
Yeah, and I think it's very, very different there. And I'm going to say this to you, okay? So your version and your vision of what excellence looks like at the university level for football isn't mine. Okay, we had a 97% graduation rate. Half our team were academic All-Canadians. We were in the top 10. We had a million things going from a cultural standpoint with our kids that made them connected, made them part of something special. We were one of the best teams in the country as well. To me, success there was a combination of all those different things. And when I think back to my time at the University of Alberta, I'll think of those kids, how connected they felt, how great they were both on and off the field, the service, the growth, the excellence that we did there together, I have a great deal of pride in. You have to understand that the University of Alberta coaching job is an all-encompassing job. There's 2 staff members there. There's 11 at Laval. There's 7 at several of the other U Sports schools, several other Can West schools. You don't have a team of administrators to work with you like you do here. I feel like almost in a way I'm going back to school where I have some weapons to work with, some people I can count on and I can share things with. When you've got 2 assistant coaches and you're playing against teams who have 8, you can imagine what the workload looks like. You share it a little bit, but you're doing a whole bunch of things, so you're running the circus. I don't need to do that here. I need to delegate, I need to talk, I need to share the vision, I need to facilitate other people's success for this to work. And I feel very strongly that I can do that.
Chris, you talked about the core values that are basically the starting point for your decisions moving forward, and a lot of those are drawn from when you were part of this organization. In your search for people to put in place, former teammates, former people who have been part of this, do they naturally have a bit of an advantage because they'll understand that maybe in a different way, or can people from the outside grasp this in the same way, do you think?
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, I'm going to say this, to be honest with you, not everybody who played here with me embraced our core values. We had some guys here, there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly on every single team you're ever going to be associated with, right? There's some people who really got it and understood it, and that was the core of all those teams we played on. So the people who are at the core people, of course, are going to gravitate naturally to what we want to do here and what we want to accomplish. But there's other teams who have played with excellence as well. There's several teams around the CFL who approach things the same way. I don't think to the same level that we did back in the day when we were here, but I do think those things are valued by certain people, and those core values are important to some people. Some people just say they are, but for some people it's really important, and my job is to figure out who really means that these things are important to them and who's just saying it to get through an interview.